Hey everybody, today I want to start a series looking at the meaning of the Greek word kephale, translated head. In this video, I want to introduce popular proposals for the metaphorical meanings or connotations for kephale. In a follow-up video, we'll take a look at the actual sources themselves. So why do I care about this word? Well, there's a huge debate on what Paul meant by it in Ephesians 5 and 1 Corinthians 11. And so the expectation is that this study will help us get a better picture of what Paul meant. We want to look at Greek use since he's operating in the Greek language and writing to a Greco-Roman culture. So here's a rough outline for this series. Again, in future videos, I hope to take a close look at how the word is used in Ephesians 5 and 1 Corinthians 11 itself, which I see as a more important issue anyway. But for right now, I want to look at how the term is used in the broader Greek literature. Kephale is the common literal word for head or noggin in Greek. In these New Testament passages, however, Paul seems to be using it in some sort of figurative way. Now, as English speakers, we naturally take the word head to be a reference to authority or leadership when used metaphorically, but it is disputed as to whether this is the case for kephale. When looking at how it's used elsewhere to Paul, there is a lot of debate. For example, scholars debate individual passages from medical authors, philosophers, historians, and theologians. They debate how much influence other languages may have had on the Greek use. They debate the relevance of each example given its time period. And they also debate how much this study even matters when looking at Paul's use. So in this video, I want to outline three popular proposals for what kephale meant. First, authority over. We're going to be taking a look at the work of Wayne Grudem. Second, preeminent. We're going to be looking at Richard Cervin. And finally, source from Philip Payne. All right, let's get started. First, Wayne Grudem favors the meaning authority over. Ruler and leader are similar terms, although leader doesn't denote authority. There is no negative denotation in these terms. Authority, ruler, and leader do not mean tyrant. Now, as an example, in English, head of an army would be a phrase that intuitively has leader or authority as the meaning. Grudem in 1985 provided what may be the most cited word study of kephale, surveying over 2,000 uses of the word in Greek literature. He found 49 metaphorical uses of kephale meaning authority over, and argues this suits many New Testament passages. He found no examples of kephale meaning source or origin. Out of the 49 uses of kephale meaning authority that Grudem cites, 19 are from extrabiblical uses, outside the New Testament and outside Greek translations of the Old Testament. As you can see, these examples span a wide range of Greek writing from the 5th century BC to the 4th century AD. We'll try and take a closer look at most of these examples in the next video. All right, moving on, Richard Cervin favors the meaning preeminent. Prominent and foremost are similar terms. Preeminent means to be outstanding or surpassing in some way. It has the idea of being higher or notable. However, authority is not necessarily in view. For example, saying that a particular actor is preeminent doesn't seem to make a point about authority. Cervin in 1989 argued that many of Grudem's examples indicate preeminence and not authority. More specifically, in Cervin's analysis, he only finds 4 unambiguous cases where kephale means ruler or leader, and only 1 where source would be better. In some cases, he believes that Grudem is incorrect in his view that the meaning is metaphorical, and rather that it just refers to the physical head. He argues that in some passages, the influences of other languages like Latin should cause us to be skeptical that the examples reveal a truly Greek understanding. And he argues that kephale is simply not used in multiple locations where Grudem indicated it was. Finally, Philip Payne favors the meaning source. Origin and beginning are similar terms. To be a source is to be something from which other things are derived. For example, in English, the phrase the head of a river has the natural meaning source, not authority. Philip Payne gives about 19 extra-biblical examples of kephale meaning source in his 2009 book, Man and Woman, One in Christ. Now, this is much more recent scholarship, so when we go into the individual passages themselves, I'll try to add the newer texts from Grudem and others that have been provided since his original 1985 article. In the next video, we'll look at the examples that I think seem to mean authority over or preeminent. and then following that, examples meaning source. But first, I want to give a brief note about lexicons. While in this series, I'm not going to be spending a whole lot of time talking about Greek lexicons, I think it's important that we understand their presence in this debate. Lexicons are like dictionaries. They are useful sources because they compile uses and meanings from many different pieces of literature. For Grudem and Cervin's original debate in their respective papers, the important ones to know about are the LSJ and BDAG. Grudem prefers BDAG over the LSJ when studying the New Testament and states that the LSJ is a lexicon for classical, not New Testament Greek. BDAG lists the meaning superior rank, but not source. Cervin responds by arguing that the LSJ is comprehensive of Greek, covering roughly 1400 years, 800 BC to 600 AD, and even included a team of theologians to deal with the New Testament and Septuagint. Although the LSJ lists 25 figurative meanings, authority over or leader is not among them, but source is. At the end of the day, lexicons cut in different directions regarding this debate. Now, I don't want to discount them at all, but for the purpose of this series, I want to look at the actual sources themselves and how scholars have debated them. All right, that's all I got for this video. See you in the next one.